And it is a great pleasure to have them here with us tonight, both together, because even my Stephen was there at the time supporting them, and they went to Bristol Uni, and they also ended up in London, and we've just watched the progress of these wonderful men, and I believe it is the Royal Marine's birthday today, which is the 28th of October. So what a proud day it is today as well. So Dale's going to kick it off with his doom and gloom story, I'm afraid to say. And he's going to have a little chat with you for about an hour and tell you what's going on in his life and his journey. And then we'll take a little break, and then Steve is going to come along with the loving light and sweep it all up for us and tell us there's nothing to worry about. So take it away, Dale. It's all yours.
Hello. Thank you, please. Thank you.
Shall I try this one or will that sound dead? Is that one better?
Hello. Yes, there we go. Thank you, troops. Wonderful introduction. I am Dale Vincent, 14-year corporal in the Royal Welsh Fusiliers. I was medically discharged for PTSD. I think it's important for me to tell you guys because ultimately, in order for you to be the best at whatever you are trying to achieve, I believe it's really important to look after yourselves. So I've done 2 years of Big Pharma's drugs, venlafaxine, diazepam, etc. I was extremely low one day, and a friend of mine, so I was telling him the story, and he bought me my first month's worth of psilocybin. So can I just get a show of hands? Who is familiar with psilocybin? Oh, so good effort, to be fair, good effort, about half of you. So, for the other half of the room, as a matter of fact, when I was in Spa yesterday, there was a bunch of guys promoting drugs for dementia. And when I asked them about psilocybin and neurogenesis, they was not aware. So please don't allow that to be you. I know of many of my friends that have family members, for example, their mothers are suffering with cognitive decline, and they will not try this medicine because, well, you tell me, they are conditioned. That's what I like to refer to people as, not sheep, not fucking idiots, okay? And unfortunately, I was this way for a long time. But this campaign is win the hearts and minds of the general public, okay? So there is no anti-vax and this kind of stuff. You know, we are all one people, so we need to get them through. So psilocybin is the only food in the world to create neurogenesis. And honestly, guys, I went from having one good day a week, or wrong, yeah, one good day a week, and then I started taking psilocybin tablets, and it completely changed my life, okay? There are things that happen to me. I have flashbacks with my PTSD, and all of the drugs that I've taken, they don't really stop the problem. However, psilocybin is the only thing that I've tried that stops it. Also, my father has had a stroke after taking the unfortunate vaccine. So he was on a cognitive decline. So a lot of the signs and symptoms that I seen in my mother towards the last years of her life, I was witnessing with my father, okay? They're very real to watch a member of your family, especially your dad, deteriorate the same as your mother. So initially I mentioned him, you know, microdosing psilocybin, and he was the same detail as me, shut up you bloody idiot. And then after a while, I kind of said to him, listen, you need to try these, otherwise I'm not going to help you as often, you know, try to blackmail him. But honestly, since he's been taking them, he can't see the difference. But I can tell you, sirs, moms, it's giving my father himself back. And it's the only way that I can describe it. When I had PTSD, I just wasn't myself. And when I take the psilocybin, it allows me to be myself. So for any of you that have loved ones suffering with these cognitive declines, please, and again, the thing is, you can get psilocybin prescribed in the United Kingdom. However, it has to be privately, okay? So if you go to the NHS or if you go to your local doctor, there's a good chance that when you ask your doctor, as I did last week, when South Wales police tried to section me, sons of bitches. But on a serious note, it was one of the, I was extremely, so I'm aware of the cabal and the Freemasons, etc. And I thought that I was going to be locked up and thrown away the key. So I was shitting myself. I was proper, very unpleasant experience. But I passed. All three of the doctors, when I was talking to them, none of them understood neurogenesis. None of them understood psilocybin. They didn't even understand the due process, So, for example, the one doctor was like, well, Mr. Vincent, it's very easy for you to pay your mortgage. These guys, you stopped paying, and now a police officer is trying to execute the warrant, and you've struck him, because ultimately that's, in his words, what happened. He failed to mention the same police sergeant that came to my property. I tried to submit to him evidence of these COVID crimes. I tried to submit him the affidavit of Dr. Francis Boyle. Now, is everybody familiar with the affidavit of Dr. Francis Boyle? Is there anybody that's not familiar? Can I have a show? Okay. So, for those of you unaware, Dr. Francis Boyle, he is a professor of international law. Okay, so he's no dickhead. He's a very intelligent human being. He is also the guy that has written the NBC Act, the Nuclear Chemical Biological Warfare Act. He claims that the mRNA technology meets the criteria for a biological weapon. Now, that's not Corporal Vincent's opinion. That's Dr. Francis Boyle. So if I've got a police officer, and I honestly believe Francis Boyle's opinion, if I'm trying to submit that to a police officer, and he won't accept it, that is misconduct in a public office. That is an indictable offence. That is a very serious crime. So I'm explaining to the doctor, and I'm like, sir, you'd have been so proud of me, guys, because I'm constantly on the vaccine's a biological weapon. But if you're preaching this to three doctors that don't understand neurogenesis, they don't understand psilocybin, because we all have an element of condition, right? So I tried, to not get sections. I was trying it as carefully as I could, and ultimately I was gifted with 3 good doctors on the day, and here I am, not sectioned. Yay! Thank you. So it was one of the worst days of my life. And unfortunately, for those of you that are thinking of going up against the cabal, these are some very serious considerations that you may want to take, because now I am homeless. I'm not taking the piss. It has broken me a little bit. It hasn't been my worst. It hasn't been my worst process throughout this. Believe it or not, the worst thing for me was when I had a jury of 12 claim that I was guilty of possession of cannabis with 2 grams. So Casey is my Mackenzie friend. Give us a hi, Casey. So she's my Mackenzie friend. She educates me throughout the law. My legal team educated me not to ask the scientist any questions. They said that we would get no legal benefit. And I seen this scientist, fucking scientist. I seen this scientist get up and she was slagging off THC. And I knew that she didn't have a bloody clue about it. So I immediately asked, I ignored my legal advice's advice. And I said, excuse me, Mum, can you just confirm your credentials? She was in fact a fucking scientist. I said, Mum, do you understand the endocannabinoid system that all mammals have? She didn't understand that all mammals have an endocannabinoid system. I goes on. I said, so Mum, you're obviously unaware if you take RSO sublingually, which is Rick Simpson oil, all your CB1 and your CB2 receptors in 95% of your organs. And the judge stopped me and he said, where are you getting this information? Are you an expert? And I says, matter of fact, sir, I am. Casey, she got my cannabis diploma. I still lost that case. I was, this was early on in my lawfare understanding. And honestly, guys, it broke my heart. I was that professional. So I understand that if you are a jury and you are overwatching a case that is, delicate in nature, it can cause you, the jury, to have nightmares and all sorts of horrific things, listening, And I was that professional. I said to the jury, I'm not even going to tell you about my nightmares. And I didn't. I saved them the drama, and they still fucking found me guilty. Unbelievable. So we had this cop I'd get on the stand. I confirmed, I said, sir, are you aware that failing to report a crime may lead to misconduct in a public office? He said no. And I'm sat there, God help us. I mean, these cops are, they're bloody crazy. So, when I got medically discharged in December 2020, straight into COVID, they stopped me from seeing my child, believe it or not. So I've been separate from my child now for 6 bloody years. He's 11. I was separated when he was 5. And honestly, I couldn't believe it. I was always a stronger member of my platoon, always helping out the weaker members. And ultimately, that forced me to start digesting on 9/11 was my topic of choice. Because whilst I was in theatre, so I was on my 4th tour of Afghanistan, and one of my men was watching a documentary on his laptop about 9/11 being an inside job. Now, I didn't pull out my notebook and pen and start researching. My Stockholm syndrome kicked in. So I said, well, that can't be real, because look at all the millions of soldiers. They couldn't have tricked us all. Now I believe they did. I don't know how familiar everybody is with Building 7. We were on about it on the way here, but they claim that it fell free fall with office fires. It's never happened before. It's absolutely bananas. But so for me, this was a lot, because I'd been to theatre and I'd lost my friends, and we'd done a lot of damage. So I was broken, and ultimately over the next couple of years, I guess I seen Mark Sexton's content. Everybody familiar with Mark Sexton? So I seen one of his videos with one of the first crime reference numbers, and I goes down to my local police station in South Wales Police, and I said, sir, I need to confirm authenticity of this. And they said, oh, we can't do that for you, mate. We can't check a different police force. Now, I've been in the army 14 years. I know if I need to speak to somebody on the other fucking side of Afghanistan, I get on the radio and ring it. They don't tell me, oh, you can't ring that side of the AO. So I know immediately these cops are fucking crap. So we went straight to a vaccine centre. They removed us, and they allowed the police to flee the crime scene. And honestly, I just couldn't, because when you're new to this information, it's a lot to digest. I've got my father, I've been banging this sovereignty or conspiracy drum, whatever you want to call it, anti-corruption, I call it. But my father is, he's still pro-jab, and we are now, 5 years in. So it's been crazy, it's been emotional, but I would, we were also on about it on the way down in the car. If we didn't have COVID, I believe the cabal would continue to rape us and our children and our resources, maybe until we make this planet inhabitable. So personally for me, I'm grateful for COVID. It's given us the opportunity to stand up and come together. I mean, just over the last couple of days, my community members are far more distressed about me having to leave the community than I am. For example, my legal team, we've been talking about it today, and I'm like, seriously guys, I don't care about the house. Now we're going to get it back for you, Vince. Now we're going to do everything, the community. I believe this last attack on myself, there was about 20 of them. They came before 0900. I used psilocybin and cannabis, as I've already explained. And I didn't just start with them, they were like the last resource for me. I explained to the gentleman, I have PTSD, I am a veteran, I require more time, because I've learned the law from my guys. They said, you've got no time, you're leaving now. They wouldn't allow me to take my medications, they wouldn't allow me to submit anything. So for those of you unaware, I paid my mortgage with a promissory note some 14 months ago. Now, we've had it confirmed in a court of law that the promissory note is legal tender as per Lord Denning's ruling. Unfortunately, because I have PTSD and my admin isn't what it used to be, I lost the bloody receipt. And that's the golden rule. If you're paying with a promissory note, you have to keep your receipt. I've recently found the receipt again, but unfortunately they did not care. I am a veteran, I am decorated, I've had awards on and off the battlefield, and I'm not saying that to blow smoke, I'm saying that so you guys appreciate they don't care. As a matter of fact, I believe they target the veterans. I believe they target us because they know how much we love you guys. And as Casey made me aware today, it's going to be the veterans, hopefully, if we're not too far gone. No, we're not. But it is going to be the veterans, I believe, that rebuild these great nations. My grandfather was in a part of, he was the Second World War, and I believe it skipped a generation. It's definitely skipped a generation with my dad. But I believe this is the same fight. I believe the enemy, and again, we can all have our opinions. As long as I think the main thing to focus on now is we all understand that there's a serious problem, okay? You may not fully understand where the problem is coming from, but we definitely have a problem, sirs, mums, ladies and gentlemen. And it's all right to whinge, and it's all right to mourn, and it's all right to poke things on Facebook. But unless we, and it's down to us, unfortunately, I don't believe that things are going to change. Having said that, I do now believe, and Steve will come and critique me on the subject matter because he's a very robust spiritual dude. I've only recently found spirituality. Yes, I was an infidel my entire military career, but now, I was walking my dogs the other day, back when I had a community to walk in. But I was telling the troops how, honestly, if I was in a position now to train soldiers, I don't think I'd want the infidel. Even though I've been an infidel my entire life, and I was, if I do say so myself, a very effective warrior, I believe when you're truly introduced to God, wow guys, and I honestly can't believe I'm up here preaching of God to you guys, because honestly, if this was the other day, I'd be like, oh, shut the hell up, you. Well, guys, so there's a thing called CE5 protocol. Is anybody familiar with the CE5? A couple? Not many, okay? Well, I've actually captured a celestial, or whatever you want to call whatever these things are. I've actually captured one online. It's on my YouTube, at Welsh Sheriff, if any of you fancy getting your minds blown. And honestly, this thing, it says in the Bible that man should fear God. And after I was witness to this thing, oh my God, I was like such a powerful force, you know. And it's really made me a superior dude, because now I do not fear death. I used to, even though I was a soldier, I honestly thought, if I get shot, that's going to be it. But now, after listening to Dr. Stephen Greer and of his talkings of the afterlife, and of his talkings of how this consciousness, you know, when you die and leave this flesh, this meat flesh body, you enter the field of consciousness. That's what I believe. I guess we're all entitled to our own opinion, but I think also, you know the cabal, right? I think that's what they try to do to us. They try to disconnect us from God. They want to disconnect us from the Bible, for example. You know, they don't want us to be a man, a husband and wife with a bunch of kids. And I remember listening to Detective John Wedger some years ago, and you know, when he mentions they're targeting families, you're like, you know, it's a lot to digest. But the more I study, or the more I live, you know, in this truth movement, it just reconfirms everything for me. But I do believe now, I mean, a couple of years ago when we was posting this content, the majority of the atmospherics were negative. We have taken a full swing. I mean, I don't know whether you guys, I'm getting the feel that you guys are getting the atmospherics online. But I mean, I shared one the other day on Facebook. It had like 100 likes and 4.7 thousand laughing emojis. It was of a lady having her booster. But it just goes to show, like, 5 years ago, you couldn't even speak of the vaccine being unhealthy. But now, I mean, the 2 police officers that took me to be sectioned, they both stopped at 2 jabs. And initially, when they took me down, I was in handcuffs. We got pushed back a 90-minute period, and within the 90-minute period gone, they removed the cuffs off me, and we were basically high-fiving. I was very optimistic about not getting sectioned until I got in there and they reminded me. I was clapping again then. But I mean, again, same detail. The doctors, they were referring to the affidavit as conspiracy. I rang the doctor and I said, sir, with all due respect, you know, these guys are, you know, they're Nobel Prize winners, some of them. How many Nobel Prize have you got, sir? Kind of thing, you know. So I am optimistic about change. I mean, it is unfortunate that I was ragged out of my home last week. And I gotta be honest, there was many soldiers that feel the same way. I mean, for a long time, my old unit has been breaking me because I've been submitting this evidence, this overwhelming evidence of these crimes. Some of them have blocked me, some of them unfriended me, but they still mock me. A lot of them added me into a WhatsApp group and started terrorizing me that I don't get to see my child. I am trying to be, I can't believe I'm saying it, but I'm trying to be a man of God now. I'm trying to, you know, when we were formulating a plan today. I said to my legal team, I would prefer to lose my houses and maybe get, replanted in the future rather than to take any more collateral damage, because I don't want my guys getting hurt, but I also believe at some point in history it's time to say, well, the pen has kind of run out of ink and it's time to pick up the sword maybe. Honestly, guys, I don't have all the answers, I'm just, my DS, he taught me as a corporal in the infantry, and it'll always stick with me. He said, Vince, or rather, one section, your job as a section commander is to win world wars. He explained that world wars are just a series of section attacks. And I agree. So, when I found out this whole biological weapon being coerced onto my community, for a long time, I was cursing the gods. And I was cursing this timeline. But now, as I've already made you guys aware, I think it's an absolute blessing, because ultimately, this is war, and we're going to get collateral damage, right? You go left, you go right, sometimes there's guns both ways. But as Steve says, we are the recce. We are merely the advance party, the reconnaissance for the rest of our communities to come through. And I think it's how you digest it, innit? Because when you digest it that way, it is truly one of the most magical times to be alive, even though it's tough, and now we're fucking homeless, I honestly wouldn't have it any other way. If I could go back in time, I would obviously critique my skills and drills, but I no longer see this as a curse. I no longer see this as the worst time to be alive. I think I am absolutely, my community call me Corporal COVID, right? What a gangster nickname, boy. Corporal COVID. I love it. I love it, Corporal COVID. I'm like, hey! So I'm honoured. I'm absolutely honoured to be in this fight. I'm absolutely honoured. The last time I went to court, some lady, she was 72 years old, and she said, Dale, I've stopped my council tax because of you. I stopped my water, my gas, my energy. She says, I'm teaching my friends to do it. And she says, it's all because of you and your Facebook teaching, so you're causing a ripple effect. And honestly, fucking, I'm just happy. I'm happy that we are in this timeline and we are able to cause a ripple effect. And I encourage those of you that are a little bit uncertain. I know it's rich coming from me, homeless. I do appreciate that. But unfortunately, we have to be ready for. We have to be ready for worst case scenario. And I mean, as opposed to being homeless, I've been loving it ever since. I mean, I'm fresh. It's only like, it was a week ago today. But I was released in my hometown, Ponty, and as soon as I jumped out the riot van, hey, Vincent, boy, hey! But they obviously seen me all on the internet, going viral again. But a friend of mine came to pick me up. He waited with me. A friend came and dropped weed off. Another friend came and dropped weed and money off. I was then hand over and take over to another friend that had a flat for me. I got to the flat. I didn't get to stay at the flat because I had another 2 friends come with more weed and like sandwiches and stuff. And honestly, like the universe, I feel like the universe is just got me, And I know I didn't say that to the bloody quacks the other day because I know they'd be get throw away the key. Because again, it's a lot, it is a lot. And at as a matter of fact, the one nurse said to me, she said, so you think you look special? I said, no, ma'am. What do you mean special? And she said, well, I heard you out in the corridor. She was fucking listening in on me, just speaking to the copper snake. But I was telling the police officer about Alzheimer's and how we create neurogenesis every day of your lives. And when you stop creating it, that's what they call it, dementia. So I said, no, Mom, I'm not. I don't think I'm special. I said, I'm gutted people are not up to my standard. But I said, I'm just the average guy. Like, I'm generally gutted that I'm the best that Wales have got for now, the battlefield asset. But again, when I explained the psilocybin and the neurogenesis, they did not know. So make sure you know, because ultimately, I mean, I was in the cell, right? I was locked up for a 31-hour period, and I was really having a bad time. I was screaming, because again, guys, fucking, they come, I was in my boxer shorts, right? I was smacked. And I went to the doctors, so they took me to see the medic, and I was like, right, Mom, I need, she said, what? Psilocybin. I don't know what that is. I said, right. So they give me the police code of conduct. So I'm like fucking reading it, and I'm like beasting them on any scenario I can. I'm saying, it's saying here that you've got to bring in the specialist. I said, I know I can get prescribed psilocybin. I want psilocybin. He said, I'm your specialist. And there is no psilocybin. Unfortunately, because it's private, they just tell you it's a grey area. Well, you know, that's one thing, but if your mother, and I'll tell you about my mother, I was so proud when I birthed, when my baby's mother birthed my son, and I was able to introduce my boy to my mother. It was honestly one of the most humbling, proudest moments of my life. And once she got sick, I was unable to take my child to visit her because it used to frighten my baby boy. And it wasn't only frightening Jayla, it was petrifying me. So my mother, she was my grandmother, she took me out of homes when I was a 6-month-old baby, and she was 62. She's already had 2 heart attacks. Amazing woman. I never met her mother, but when I used to go and visit her, she used to scream for her mother. And honestly, it was one of the most traumatizing events of my life. Now, I hope that that doesn't come for you guys. But the reality of it is, you may have mums and dads that are currently on a cognitive decline. And the answer grows wild in my valley, my old valley. But seriously, psilocybin, guys, write it down, look into it, because it is absolutely life-saving bit of kit I've got. With my psilocybin and my dogs and my legal team, I'm going to take over the world. But I couldn't do it without the wonderful mushrooms. Also, lion mane as well. I psilocybin every other, but I lion mane every day. So take note, don't forget, please pass the message on to the next generation. Yes, remain healthy. I believe, is that my coming up to me? That's me, so that's my first hour, guys. Thank you for listening. Any questions? Send them over. Oh, we've got a couple. Go on. Anyone?
Where are you staying now?
So I'm currently staying at the veterans camp in Bath. I did have many friends, as Casey knows. I believe she's giving us meat on the bone. I had many friends that were willing to take me on, but unfortunately they didn't want the smoke. They know South Wales Police is full of crooks, and honestly, I had many of them saying, "Oh, Vince, oh, Vince, I don't want to give." They didn't want to give the details, so unfortunately, I'm in England with you guys. Yippee! So yes, that's what I am. Also, guys, if anyone would like to donate, we have a buy me a coffee. Me and my legal team are constantly coming up with what's the word I'm looking for? Bills. £40 to send this, £40 to send that, etc. So if anybody would like to donate anything, we'll be grateful for your 50 pences. Thank you. Was that another question over here, ma'am? So it's with great difficulty. There is a P, an S, and a good luck. Yes, I don't know. Unfortunately, sorry, I'm a soldier, not a.
You've got cognitive decline.
Well, I'm low on my microdose. If I can kick out, guys, take it to.
Are you getting any feedback? I know you said you had some negative.
Honestly, guys, this has been a process. So I will say, after I was ragged out of my home the other day, I had a lot of concerned veterans and serving personnel. I think the problem that we have is the cabal are extremely clever, okay? And when they jabbed at all the police and the military first, that was no accident, okay? That was a deliberate tactic in an attack, and it was very clever because, well, unfortunately now, so I had a piss-up, a Royal Welsh piss-up, and I got there and I'd been arguing with my guys for months. And I seen my old Sergeant Major, and I said, listen, sir, no politics today, just please don't get your kids jabbed. And he said, all my kids have already had their vaccinations. So, you're thinking back to my Stockholm syndrome in Afghan, when I was looking around and seeing the millions of troops. Imagine giving this to your children. The sad thing is, we now have many protocols. So if you were unfortunate to take this juice, we can stop the spike protein replicating from within inside our bodies. But you have to be integral. And you have to look in the mirror and say, okay, I made a mistake. And unfortunately, doctors have got many words for it, but I just don't know why people can't come to terms, especially when it's the health and safety of our offspring. There is no more, to me, I believe it's the most, important subject matter that there is, the health and safety of our community. So honestly, I don't know. I do believe that the military are in charge now. Steve will mention it when he comes up, and for a long time I was like, oh, you're too optimistic for me, Steve. But now, look at the evidence. What were we speaking of on the way down here in the car? I forget. Oh, the bailiffs now. The bailiffs are reimbursing people. They're not reimbursing you because they want to, sirs, ma'ams. They're not just, they're doing it because somebody more powerful is trying to get these crooked systems to rectify themselves, in my professional opinion. There's been lots of things that have happened that I know for a fact. Have we all seen The Sound of Freedom by Tim Ballard? Some fools are like, oh, he's a Freemason. No! And if he is a Freemason, he's a good guy, because we wouldn't. If I was the enemy, I wouldn't be letting all you guys know about the crimes. They wanna keep that hush. So again, I may be wrong, but in my professional opinion, I do believe that their time is running out, and it's down to us. It's down to me and you guys creating this content, sharing it. So thank you. Thank us. We are right where we need to be. I'll give you an example. The other day, when the police came to me, I was kicking myself because I thought that I let my team down. And what I mean by team is my soldiers that have died in theatre. I believe, if I'm not upholding the law and good standards, these guys have died for nothing. And I was walking around, I had to get Valiant to knock me out because I was snapped. I had the opportunity, and as we say in the infantry, I should have turned the guy into pink mist, okay? it was an indictable offence, he violated my right, but I didn't, right? And now, like my legal team, we're in such a strong case, we're in such a good position. And I believe a lot of that is because my Doberman pissed on my floor, believe it or not, because I woke up, seen the dog piss, he went straight in the cage. Now I'm telling you, if them coppers come into my house and that Doberman wasn't in the cage, me and the Doberman probably wouldn't be here today, okay? He would have updated. I wouldn't have seen one of my guys get that way, so I would have updated. Probably, and even though that we were in the right, it wouldn't have been the most noble decision to make, okay? We have to think of, we don't want to promote violence. We have to be ready, to be violent, but we shouldn't be promoting it. Yes?
What happened with your court case in Bristol? I know it's June 2026.
So you referred to the citizen's arrest case?
Yes.
So yes, guys, after we conducted the citizen's arrest, they used lawfare and pushed the case back 4 years. Ultimately, they know, if you give somebody like me that case law, I will do all your work for you. You can all go on holidays. But they know that these veterans out here exist, like me, that don't like crime. So unfortunately, they are trying everything that they can to slow us down. But I mean, it doesn't matter. The work that we've done, it cannot be undone. People are catching on now. They know that these guys to be criminal. It is literally only a matter of time. And we've got the younger generation on board. We truly have. The older generation are the hardest ones to capture, obviously, because they've been longer conditioned. But it was a couple of weeks ago, a friend of mine was taking me shopping, and her gran was congratulating me for the work that I've done. And the kids at my community love COVID. So, we are there, guys. We just need to see it through, know your power, and just sit through. Go on, Anna.
Another one about social media. It's interesting looking at what you post because they're not censoring you. And you're not self-censoring, or are you?
I am the most censored man in Wales. For example, my phone is on every platform. They try, but for example, I know if I write the word vaccine, we're talking a couple of years ago now, that they would ban us, or the algorithm could potentially pick us up, because you're not guaranteed to get picked up. So we've just amended our wording, and I would always upload content myself, but now, if you've shared it, I don't care about uploading it myself. I'll share your page. Now, ultimately, I'm not going to get into the censorship too much, because I could be teaching, I could be talking for it for hours. But that's all we need to do is, or remember to do is, we are winning. Like years ago, you couldn't say to people that the vaccine was bad. Now, nurses are debating it. Before I went in to see them 3 psychiatric nurses the other day, there was a lady, she brought me tea and sandwiches, and I spoke to her, and she was like, yeah, well, it'll be intriguing to see if Operation Warp Speed wasn't all that it was meant to be. We know this. Unfortunately, I believe everybody, it's in there, but we now have to see these souls through. And in the words of Ricardo Borsi, it's going to be too slow for you, but too fast for them. So I do sympathize with them. I haven't seen my child in half a decade. I'm now homeless. But it's not their fault. We are up against, the level of power that our enemy has is, it's truly something, guys. It's not to be underestimated. But again, I do believe that we are winning. Okay, we haven't won quite yet, but I do believe we continue sharing this message, being positive about it, and we will get we will get there. Any more for me? I believe not. Thank you ever so much, Drew.
Chewing on my whistle. Just give a whistle.